everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Mika and you can find me on Instagram at Yes Please Planning. Today I'm working on setting up my personal size binder and I need an extra pin loop to go inside here. There's one already here, but I like to carry 2 pin loops. So I'm going to create a pin loop insert similar to the one that I made for my February kit. I figured I'd show you the steps that are needed so that you can make your own pin loop insert. So these are the supplies that you'll need. You're going to need a hole puncher, a craft knife and a craft mat, some craft glue, binder clips or paper clips, some elastic, 2 sheets of decorative paper, as well as a couple of sheets of plain cardstock. You consider what will coordinate with your cardstock. It's not going to show very much, just on the edge. It's nice to have something that kind of coordinates in case it shows just a little bit. So I'm sticking with the black. I won't tell you what dimensions you'll need. It's really important that you pick an insert from your planner so that yours will be the size that you need. Even if your planner is a personal size, yours might be slightly different than mine, so I don't want to give you dimensions that won't work for you. So you're going to take your insert and trim 4 sheets, the 2 decorative and 2 plain to go inside. How you trim your papers, that's really up to you. You can cut them one by one with scissors, or what I like to do is just use a craft mat, stack my papers, and use a metal ruler to trim each paper to the exact same size. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I've got my 4 sheets here, the 2 for the inside and the front and the back. But you know, as I'm holding this, it still feels a little flimsy. I think it might be okay once I put the glue on, but I'm a little concerned that once I have the elastic in here and try to put a pin on there, it will sort of start to bend with the weight of the pin. So I'm going to actually add 1 more sheet of cardstock. This is actually a sort of cardboard, so it's a thin cardboard. That'll make it nice and sturdy. That's much better. So from here, I'm going to hole punch each of these. Don't skip this step, because if you try to hole punch once all of the sheets are glued together, it'll be too thick for your hole punch to punch through. Now I'm using this Webster hole punch that comes from Amazon, but you can also, it works fine if you just use a regular single hole punch. It just takes a lot longer. You have to be a little bit more careful with your spacing. Now we're ready to start working with the elastic. I bought this elastic from Hobby Lobby. You can buy the ones that come like in a spool or a pack, but I happen to have stumbled across these in the hair accessory aisle, and it was $2 before a coupon. I'm just going to snip off about 4 inches. It doesn't have to be exact. 3 or 4 inches is just fine. Now you're going to dab a little bit of glue on the inside of your elastic. Right now you're just going to apply enough for the very end of it and sandwich that like so. Now you should have quite a lot of space still left over. That's important so that you can adjust the size of your loop when you're ready to sandwich it in the paper, between the papers. So I've got all of my layers and I'm ready to start gluing. I'm only going to glue the first half, bottom half together, and then the top half together. And then I will end up with 2 layers. I know it sounds silly, but make sure you're only putting your glue on the side that you don't want to see. I'm just using a napkin to sop up any glue that seeps out of the side so it doesn't get on my table. Looks good so far. Now, if your papers were sturdy enough, you won't need this extra layer, but remember, mine felt a little flimsy, so I'm adding this cardstock in here. So here's one side. In case anyone is wondering, the glue that I'm using is called, I don't know if it's Aleen's or, yes, Aleen's. I've been using this glue for years. It's my favorite craft glue. It can tackle paper, it can handle fabric. It's definitely my go-to liquid glue. I showed earlier this like a tape runner. You can use a tape runner, but make sure it's one of the permanent ones so that you don't run across any dismantling. Okay, now I've got my 2 halves for my insert. I'm going to be sandwiching them just like this with the loop in between. Now, you're gonna have to decide where you want this loop to go. I prefer to keep it fairly high up. The reason why is because I think about how I like to loop my pens. I usually prefer to just take the clip part and loop it right on there. And so once I've got that looped in, I don't want it to hang too far down. So if the loop is way down here, the pen may hang down too low. However, if you know that you like to put your pen up or put your pen inside, then you may run into the problem of your pen going up too high. So you really have to decide how you use your pens. Now I'm ready to glue my loop in between my 2 halves. And so for this part, you're gonna need your clips. It helps if you have more binder clips, but use what you have. So you're gonna put a pretty good amount of glue on both sides of the end. Now remember, while the glue is still wet, you are going to play around with this to make sure the loop is the size that you want, because it's still pretty, like if you can see mine, it's still pretty fat. My pens are a bit wider or skinnier than that, so I'm going to play around with it while it's still wet. Now if you can see, this loop is pretty small. So I'm going to think about, decide for sure, is this the size that I want? Because once it's glued, I really don't want to try to take it apart. So I'm going to check again the pens that I intend to use. So this is a pen that I commonly use. It's pretty thin, my Staedtler. Again, I usually hook it on, but I'm gonna go ahead and insert it just to make sure it fits. And I like that. It's snug, but it's not so tight that I'm going to struggle. I might even pull it out just a tiny bit. remember, it's elastic, so it's gonna stretch when you put your pin in. So now that I've got my spacing the way that I want it, I'm gonna go ahead and clip part of it and then glue the halves together. I'm making sure that my holes line up. Now I did put glue in between, but it came apart, I guess because of the type of material the elastic is. That's okay, because once the papers are glued, it won't go anywhere. And if you're still having trouble with your elastic sticking, you can always use a stronger glue, like is it E6000? Now for that last step, you are going to go ahead and let me wipe some of this extra glue off. Now you want to look at it and make sure it's not warped. And if it is, go ahead and just kind of work it out while the glue hasn't completely dried so that it's flat. I'm just pressing it down to make sure that the paper, the insert is flat and not incredibly warped from the glue. And you'll see there's a pocket right here. If that is the case for yours, just go ahead and stick a little bit more glue in there and then binder clip it together. Now I'm going to binder clip or paper clip my layers together so that they can glue nice and tight. You want to give it ample time to dry. That may be 5 minutes for your glue, that may be an hour or more. You need to know the kind of glue that you're using to make sure that you give it plenty of time to dry so that it doesn't come apart when you're using it. Okay, so I have removed my clips and my pen holder insert is done. I'll let you take a closer look. The seam is all glued. I've done a little tug test and everything is just fine. I'm gonna go ahead, put my pen holder insert into my planner. And put a pin in. Perfect. That's it, friends. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Remember to come and say hi on Instagram at Yes Please Planning. Bye bye.